Hello and welcome to the Executive Hub Show. This is the podcast that helps you grow your business with simple tips and strategies. This episode is brought to you by Persyo. If your marketing isn't working, it's time for a change. Persyo's marketing consultation service gives you expert advice and solid strategy to grow your business. Stop guessing and start winning. To book your free initial consultation, visit persyo.com/consultation. My guest today is Joe Myers. Let me add him to the show. Welcome, Joe.
Hey, Mustafa, how are you?
Fantastic. Great to see you. And today we're going to talk about the power of entrepreneurial perseverance. Let me do the proper introduction to Joe, and we're going to dive into a very interesting conversation about his journey and what he learned along the way. Joe Meyer is the founder and CEO of ExecThread, the world's largest platform for confidential executive level job opportunities. A seasoned entrepreneur, Joe has built and led multiple successful companies. And before ExecThread, he founded a company that was later acquired by Apple. Joe, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. How is your day so far?
Very productive and not much room to spare. So not much time.
Beautiful. And where about are you in the world?
I'm in New York City right now.
Beautiful. Is it cold, hot? What's it like out there right now?
It's damp, rainy, slushy, snowy, and cold.
Beauty. So let's dive into it, Joe.
Calgary, I suspect. So.
What's that?
Not as cold as Calgary, I suspect.
Oh, it is. It is cold out here. It's like minus 20 right now. Anyway, let's dive into it. What is your story?
What is my story?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a career entrepreneur. Started a couple of different companies in my career, some successful, some not so successful. I'm addicted to entrepreneurship, I guess you would call it. And, that's who I am professionally. Personally, I'm a husband, a dad, and just a normal person.
Beautiful. So, what inspired you to start your company? Was there a specific moment or idea that has sparked the idea of starting ExecThread?
Yeah, to be quite honest, it really kind of germinated soon after the acquisition of my last company by Apple. I was at Apple post-acquisition, and I was getting approached by a decent number of executive recruiters for, my next CEO opportunity. And I found myself more potentially interested in the jobs that they were not approaching me for than I was in the one singular job they were approaching me for. And what I mean by that is executive recruiters don't disclose to you all the searches they're working on. They only disclose to you the one search they're working on that they think you're a good fit for. And unfortunately, executives don't have access to all the other searches that executive recruiting firms are working on. And I just thought to myself, wouldn't it be interesting if there was a way to provide executives with access to all of those jobs that recruiting firms are working on that are not publicly posted on job boards. And I said, if I could figure out how to solve that problem, I'm sure I could build up a pretty large audience of executives wanting access to those jobs, which what we have today, nearly 1 million ExecThread members registered for our service, 10 years later. But the real genesis is that my dad was kind of in middle management at big commercial banks, VP, SVP title. And he got re-engineered out of a job twice in his career in his 50s. And each time he got re-engineered out of a job, it was much harder and much longer. It took him much longer to find his next job. And a lot of that is because a lot of the jobs he was pursuing were not accessible and publicly accessible. So I felt like, if that was a challenge for my dad, it's probably a challenge for a lot of other executives too. So let me go try to solve that problem that, pained my dad. That probably pains a lot of other executives.
Sure. So Love it. And how you came up was that kind of the onset of fixing the problem that maybe you experienced with your dad experience, and you're like, I want to fix that problem, and it helps you like start this company.
Yeah, I think I think job searching at the executive level is kind of misunderstood by most people that aren't at that level. It's actually a very hard, arduous, long, frustrating process because there's many candidates going after very few jobs, and the majority of the jobs are not publicly posted, and that usually leads to long job searches and inefficient job searches. And it's something that I'm familiar with, not only from my dad, but from my own experience as an executive. Not that I'm familiar with it enough to be aware of the problem, but it's not a problem that many 20-something-year-old entrepreneurs are interested in solving. So, I was in my mid 40s when I started ExecThread, and I said, here's a problem, here's a big market, and I don't think many, young kids right out of Stanford or Harvard are trying to solve this problem. So I think I'm uniquely qualified and positioned to solve this problem.
Love it. So, who do you serve, and what do you do for them?
Yeah, we serve professionals who are either aspiring to be executives or are executives that are looking to advance their career with a new role at a new company, who aren't finding what they're looking for on large generic horizontal job boards like LinkedIn or Career Builder or ZipRecruiter, and aren't getting the sort of access to opportunities at scale through executive recruiters reaching out to them individually. We are a platform, being ExecThread, that gives them access to nearly 10,000 searches, executive level searches that are not publicly posted on job boards, that you need to be a member of ExecThread to get access to, because your only ability to get access to them at all or at scale is by becoming an ExecThread member. Because it's jobs that are either not publicly posted, or if they are, you're never going to find them on your own because they're not on job boards.
Fantastic. Joe, what I know you kind of touched on it. What exactly is the problem that you solve, and how do you solve the problem for these people?
Yeah, so the best way to think about it is, again, you come to ExecThread today, you get access to nearly 10,000 retained executive searches, actual live searches being done by retained executive search firms that are not accessible or available on LinkedIn, on ZipRecruiter, on Indeed, and are not on the hiring company's website. They're either not publicly posted at all, or if they are, they're on the executive recruiting firm website. There are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, in fact, executive recruiting firms out there. So it would be impossible for you to find these jobs on your own. If ExecThread didn't exist, you would not be able to access these jobs. That's a pain point we're solving.
So, if someone is looking for a job, and they would just join your network, and they would see the list of jobs available, and they would just apply through your platform?
Yep. They would gain access to them as a registered ExecThread member, and we would target jobs to them based on their industry, based on their function, based on their location, etc. Or they can find those jobs themselves by doing filtered searches, keyword searches, etc.
And then, is this like a do-it-yourself type of platform, or do you guys help them with the process as well?
It's mostly self-serve, why we're able to service over 1 million registered members without a huge team. It's a completely digitally enabled service, and largely self-service. We do provide access to executive branding services, resume enhancing services, LinkedIn profile enhancing services, cover letter generation services, but that is more kind of a not our core service. It's more of a complementary service.
Got it. And is it like they pay a monthly fee to get access to?
It's a freemium subscription model, most analogous to digital media companies. So, for example, if you're reading the New York Times, for example, the New York Times might give you, the ability to either read one article, but if you want to read other articles, you need to pay a subscription, or they might give you the ability to read the first paragraph or two of an article.
Yep.
But to read the remainder of the article, you need to pay a subscription. Same thing here. We at ExecThread, we conceal information about the job, including the name of the hiring company, the name of the recruiting firm working on the search, the name of the recruiters working on the search, the name of the hiring manager, the contact information of all those folks. And we put all that behind a paywall. And you can decide which jobs amongst the many that we have on our platform are worth paying to get access to. We do offer a very user-friendly month one trial of you could join for $1 in terms of you can gain access to any job on our platform and get full unvetted, unfettered access to any job on our platform for the first month for $1. And you can cancel anytime. Or if you want to sign up for a longer term subscription, a 6-month or a 12-month subscription, you can. Or you could just pay month to month.
Got it. Okay. Love it. The freemium model.
It's free, but it's free to join ExecThread, just like it is free to go onto NewYorkTimes.com.
So where do they go to get access to that freemium service?
It's ExecThread.com.
Okay.
ExecThread.com.
ExecThread. Beauty. Joe, could you give us like a kind of a case study of a client, by keeping their privacy, obviously, on how they found you and how you guys helped them?
Yeah, so let me preface this by saying we are not an executive recruiting firm. We're not a career coach. We're not an outplacement firm. We give you access to the world's best jobs and give you the information so that regarding those jobs so that you can take action on them yourselves. So we're not doing any white glove service or hand holding.
Got it.
We're a software company. We're a SaaS model. We're a platform. We're a large scalable community. Most any other company that services professionals, especially executives, are usually professional services firms, i.e. managed services. I'm a software entrepreneur. So I was like, how do we solve an inherently non-scalable, non-automatable challenge with not only a value prop that will resonate and engage, but if it resonates and engages a large number of professionals, how do we service those professionals in large numbers without throwing bodies at the challenge? You let the computer do the work. You let your users do the work. You let code, software code, do the work.
Do the work.
So, how do I scale something that is inherently to the common person a managed service? So it takes a different sort of mindset to tackle this problem.
Fantastic. So when it comes to finding these jobs, do you guys go out there, or you have a system that finds these jobs, or do companies add them on your platform?
Yes, and yes. When we started out, it was completely crowdsourced. So we sourced the roles directly from members of our community who were the ones getting approached by executive recruiters. And if they were approached for a job that they weren't interested in pursuing, they would share the job details with us, and we would take that unstructured data, usually in the form of an email thread, and turn it into structured information in what looks like a job listing on the front end. Mm-hmm. The demand for those crowdsourced jobs quickly outstripped the supply, meaning many, many more professionals wanted access to these jobs than there were jobs being crowdsourced, which is a good problem to have. We're a marketplace, supply and demand, right? So demand chases supply. So we needed to figure out how to get more supply. So we then opened it up for hiring companies to submit jobs to gain access to our community. And even that didn't solve our supply challenges. So what we figured out is that there are hundreds of thousands of executive recruiting firms worldwide. And although a small percentage of them post their jobs on their website, their searches, A small percentage of a very large number gets you to a large number. And therefore, we have a proprietary database of thousands of executive recruiting firms that we know post jobs on their own websites, but they don't post them anywhere else. They only post them on their website. You're not going to find them via a Google search. You're not going to find them on Indeed. You're not going to find them on LinkedIn. You're not going to find them on their client's website. The only place you're going to find them is on that long tail executive recruiting firm website. So because we have this list that we built over time and continue to grow over time, and because we have an operational process that is largely automated to take all of that unstructured data and turn it into structured data and into a clean user experience on the front end called ExecThread.com, that's the value that we provide.
Love it.
It's a hard problem to solve, even though from the outside looking in, it just looks like a job board. It's a lot more than just your normal job board.
Oh yeah. I'm sure it's very complex. I mean, like you said, people think it's easy. There's just a bunch of job postings, but the fact that you mentioned some of them don't even post it on public sites or here and there. I mean, there must be an art into getting all of those job
It's definitely a mix
postings.
of an art and science, mostly science and persistence.
Oh yeah. Love it. And so I'm sure you have some competition out there. What would you say? How is your company different compared to the rest of the competitors that you have out there?
Yeah, I mean, I would say from the outside looking in, we look like every other job board, which is not a bad thing. Like, we don't want to be something so different that you don't understand what we are. Well,
Mhm.
so, but at the end of the day, the supply of jobs that we're providing you are very different. You won't find these jobs on any other job board, and they're the best jobs in the world. So,
Simple.
it's that simple,
Beauty. So, Joe, give us some of the milestones that you have achieved along the way while building the
Yeah,
ExecThread.
I mean, in no order of priority. So this year we're about to hit 1 million registered members. It doesn't mean, we count everyone visiting our site as one of those people. You have to actually register, sign up, sign in, get credentialed, get verified. So there's that inherently, intentionally built-in friction. We want the people that want to be part of our network to be part of it, not just the random visitor or browser. So we're going to hit 1 million registered members. And if you put it through that lens, what other professional network is out there that has over 1 million registered members? I can't name any. Sorry, hold on. Are you there? Sorry, I had a Slack
Yep,
message,
I'm here.
Slack video call coming in. My bad. So hitting a million registered members, which we'll do at some point this year, is a pretty big milestone, especially since we're not throwing money at marketing budgets to grow that member base. It's mostly organic, mostly referral based. A little bit of money in terms of growth marketing, but the majority of it is word of mouth. So we're very proud of that. We've had half a dozen years, 5 or 6 years of consistent profitability, consistent cash flow positive, increasing revenues every year. We were just named one of the Inc. 5000 companies, the 500th fastest growing company in America, 524, in fact. And we expect to be on that Inc. 5000 list again this year, based on our revenue growth. That is something to be very proud of, to be, profitable, cash flow positive, growing the top line, growing the bottom line. But most, we're most proud that our service has enabled our members to get, thousands of our members to get, access to jobs and new jobs through our platform that they wouldn't have been able to get access to or get employed through if it weren't for ExecThread. So that's what we're most proud of.
Beautiful. Amazing milestones there. 1 million members, 5, 6 years of profitability, Inc. 5000. Fastest growing. Very nice. I mean, what is the most satisfying part of what you do for you?
I think it's the cause effect nature of what we do. And it's been this way not only with this company, but my last 2 or 3 companies, which were also software companies that were consumer facing, or if not B2C, B2B2C, um, where changes you make that you ask your developers to make get implemented on the front end that make people's usage of your service more enjoyable,
Hmm.
less friction, more useful, more utilitarian, um, and seeing changes that you make to the user experience result in real impact in their usage of the platform, but also in terms of business metrics as well. So
Love it.
immediate cause effect.
Oh yeah. Does it ever give you any satisfaction because the fact that you're, giving thousands of people jobs and access to jobs and putting food on tables that way?
I mean, absolutely. But I also want to be careful to say that, you know, our members put a lot of work into getting it from the point of finding out about the job opportunity on our site that, yes, they wouldn't have been able to find if they weren't an ExecThread member. But from that point all the way through to getting an offer and getting employed, there's a lot of heavy lifting that our members do from the point they find out about the job on ExecThread all the way to the point of getting an offer and getting employed, that we can't take credit for.
All right.
We're not going to take credit for something that that is being done by the actual candidate.
Oh yeah, fair enough. But I mean, still, you're giving an opportunity, listing all the jobs, and
We're
it's
giving
credit points.
we're giving people access that they wouldn't
Yeah,
get otherwise. But absolutely, we're very proud of that.
beautiful. Now, Joe, what have been some of the challenges that you've been facing along the way while reaching those milestones?
Yeah, so plenty. I don't have enough time to list them. Any startup venture, especially if you started it from the ground up, is going to be chock full of challenges and pitfalls and challenges along the way. I think one of our biggest ones is that we thought we were going to monetize through B2B. We spent the first couple of years trying to monetize through B2B, and to be honest, we failed, and we were running out of money and having runway issues and at risk of potentially going under. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And we figured out how to make the cash register ring while still providing value to our members. And like I said before, we've had a half a dozen years of sustained growth ever since then. But we were at death's door there for a little while. But it's not anything that I've seen this before. I've seen this script before. It doesn't make me scared. It's just part of the rite of passage of starting companies. And we did it without necessarily raising additional money along the way. We had to figure it out on whatever was left in the bank. So in many ways, even though we're a venture capital backed company, we've grown this company and operated it much more grassroots like over the past several years, and much more as if we weren't backed by third parties. And in fact, we haven't raised a dime of money in the last half a dozen years, in spite of that growth and growth trajectory. We're proud of that we're growing the company based on cash on the balance sheet rather than raising outside capital. Yeah, we're very proud of that. But other challenges is we run this service in a very resource constrained way, I guess you would put it. I'm not a big believer in vanity metrics such as how many employees you have or how much money you raised. To me, the most successful companies are the ones that are able to continue growing while increasing profitability and cash flow along the way. And in some ways doing it with as few bodies as possible. So my last company, HopStop, never got to be more than 15 people, and we competed against Google Maps and Apple Maps, and we were ultimately acquired by Apple. And we were in over 1,000 markets and serviced, tens of millions of people. and we never got above 15 people. Here at ExecThread, we're not any larger than 15 people either, and we service over 1 million people and are doing it at scale. Yeah, I could hire more people and throw bodies at it, but again, I prefer to take a more scalable approach.
Beautiful. Fantastic. With only 15 people. That always amazes me. Like, I think there's a common thought out there that, let's say for every 100,000 or every couple 100,000, you have to hire someone, and people base like the number of people based on the revenue and whatnot. But it seems like you have it figured out to do it.
I think scale, I think efficiency, I think automation. Yeah, I mean, I don't. I like running companies that don't require manual elements to them.
Love it. Joe, what would you say is holding your maybe business back right now?
Maybe what I just said. Maybe if I was more embracing of raising more money and throwing more bodies at opportunities, maybe ExecThread would be bigger than it is. But I also think we would have bigger problems and bigger headaches too if we did that. When I was at eBay, I got my early days in the software industry at eBay during their hyper growth phase, and the leadership of eBay at the time would often talk about how revenue gets generated while you're sleeping, and that concept struck me and stuck with me, which is, how do you run a business where revenue generates while you sleep? Which means you don't need a person selling or servicing or doing something to make the cash register ring. And that's what we've created here at ExecThread, a business where revenue generates while we sleep. And I like running that sort of business.
That's a great question. I mean, for people that are watching or listening, the main question so far, what I've learned the best out of what you said is, how do you generate revenue while you sleep? And that's a fundamental, beautiful question for the business model and the software or the business that you're about to create.
But let me just interrupt you for a second by saying it doesn't mean like the CEO of GM or Ford, revenue gets generated while they sleep, but that means a lot of other people on their team are up awake.
And working. Yeah.
I'm talking about everyone on my team being asleep and revenue still generates. I'm not saying we're lazy, that we want to sleep and generate revenue. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is how do you create a model where the service you're providing is fully self-serve and doesn't require people to be presenting to you to sell you something, servicing you to service that revenue or to service that client. But the software code and the user experience and the automated operations do it, just like at eBay.
Oh yeah, that's another great addition to that. I know in the software business that's more common than other type of industries. Do you know are there other industries where you could sleep and still make money? Everyone's sleeping, like vending machines or?
Yeah, I guess vending machines. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, beauty.
Yeah.
Got it. Joe, who's had a major influence on you or your business, maybe as a leader or someone that had an impact on you?
Like I said before, seeing my dad kind of go through his career challenges, especially later in his career, inspired me to help other professionals going through similar challenges. So I guess in some ways more indirectly than directly, that was something that was motivating for me and inspiring to me. Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest, I I don't really put people up on pedestals. I kind of learn from different methods and approaches, but more importantly, I take the path less traveled. I chart my own course. I don't, I don't put someone out there and say, "Oh, I want to replicate their success," or "I want to do it like they did it." I want to solve my own challenges and solve them, in a way that's unique. So, I don't know if that makes sense, but take the path
Yep.
less traveled.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um, is there anything about your company that most people don't know but they should?
I mean, some of it I've already disclosed, right, and shared on this call, right? The fact that we can do what we do with such a small team, I think would be very enlightening to many people. I think how we source our supply of jobs is very unique. Maybe a lot of people didn't think about that, especially when they engage with our site and service. And like I said earlier in the call, the fact that we were staring death in the face early on in our company's history, and we were definitely fledgling and to the point of potentially going under, and have turned this around. There's not many turnarounds in the tech space. My last company was a turnaround. This company's a turnaround. It's hard to turn around companies to begin with, but especially in the tech space. So.
Oh yeah. So following up on that, what's one advice that you would have for people that are starting out, say a tech business or a software business out there?
Ooh.
I know there's a ton of advice, but what's, say, one thing they should walk away with today?
I mean, I guess a couple of things. First off, ideas are cheap. Everyone has a good idea, or a lot of people have good ideas. The vast majority of people with good ideas never implement them, never execute against them, never launch them. So I guess my first piece of advice would be the old Nike adage, which is just do it. Like, don't come up with excuses not to do it, or don't say, "Oh, I have to write a business plan before I get this off the ground." Just get it off the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
2, don't hide it from anyone, because chances are, if it's a good idea, other people have thought of it, and/or it's already out there in some form or fashion. So how you do it better or more uniquely is what it's all about. And then 3 is, it's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life professionally, starting a company and trying to grow it and scale it, and getting it to its first dollar of revenue, to its first $1,000 of revenue, to its first 100,000 of revenue, to its first million of revenue, and doing it profitably. Really hard, just really hard. And I think the media has made it seem like it's easy to start companies and become an instantaneous success. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do professionally.
Love it. So you mentioned ideas are cheap.
Perseverance and grit.
What was the last thing again?
Persistence, perseverance, and grit.
Persistence, perseverance. I feel like there's a story behind there.
I mean, nothing in my career has ever come easy, even though if you look at my profile from the outside looking in, you're like, "Oh man, look at all the success this guy has achieved." Nothing's been easy. It's all been trudging through mud, blood, sweat, and tears, every step. So it's not some like glorified path to success that people think it is. It's not. So be prepared to roll your sleeves up, get your fingers dirty, get dirt under your fingernails, and trudge through mud to get to any sort of success.
Love it. So a few ideas you mentioned was ideas are cheap. Just get it off the ground, get it done. Don't hide it. Someone else have probably thought about it, and just get out there and do it.
And if you think it's a great idea, then prove it by people actually using it or buying it or engaging with it or getting value from it. And do it in a way where you can generate a profit. Like all this, it's just not easy,
On that point, and I know it's very easy to do this in the software world, I think there's a fear of people probably have an internal fear of if I get my idea out there, someone else is going to copy it quick,
Yeah,
and they stop themselves from getting it out there.
it's ludicrous. It's completely ludicrous. It's all in execution. It's all about execution.
So meaning get it out there and get it done and don't worry about it.
Yeah, and do it better than anyone else can. Out execute people.
Oh yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Like, two athletes that have the same athletic skill. The athlete who out hustles the other one is the one that's going to win.
For sure.
Out executes the one is going to win.
100%. I think that the persistent, perseverance, and grit that you mentioned will probably outrun the competition.
Yeah, I mean, there have been so many times I could have called it quits in this company or in my prior companies, and 99 out of 100 people would have called it quits.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I think most businesses don't make it the first year, or I would even say people with ideas don't even make it the first 3 months. They just run around for a week or two.
Majority of people with good ideas never even make it to day one.
Yeah, they just kill the idea.
Yeah.
Joe, what do you enjoy the most about your role as a founder, CEO of your company?
Again, I talked about cause and effect. I love the cause and effect nature of what I do and what my team does. I enjoy who's on my team and working with them, and waking up every day and going to work with them. I'm not bored. I'm fulfilled and motivated, and even though we're not solving world peace or global hunger, or climate issues, we're providing value to a lot of people and enjoying it along the way. And, I get up out of bed every day, ready to, and excited to go fight the good fight. There's a lot of people that dislike what they do for a living, or don't find fulfillment in what they do, or don't like who they're working with. I don't really have those issues. But then again, I think it's because I took the path less traveled. I didn't, everyone was going here, I went here.
Interesting.
There's risk in doing that, but, controlling your own destiny and is a lot better than not.
Love it. I mean, once you do something meaningful like what you're doing, I mean, you would have a good motivation to wake up, hopefully. I mean, some days it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, some days it still feels like a job at the end of the day in terms of the hour-to-hour element of it. But more often than not, I wake up and before I know it, it's 6, 7 o'clock, and come 10, 11 o'clock, when I have downtime, I'll still kind of do a little bit of work here and there. That's because I'm motivated. I'm the founder. I'm all in.
Fantastic.
No one's telling me to do it. No one's telling me to do it faster, harder, quicker, better. I don't need someone else like a manager to tell me that. It's innate.
So do you ever run into times or days where you don't feel like working or don't feel like getting out, or you're like, oh, this is, one of those times?
I would say the challenges that I've been through as an entrepreneur in terms of turning companies around, or rising from the, ashes, or near-death experiences, those challenges make any sort of like, oh, I don't, I'm feeling tired or not motivated today, seem trivial. Those, I don't find I have issues getting motivated every day. If me and my team have figured out how to start a company, overcome massive obstacles along the way, and get it to this point, if I'm not feeling motivated from, on this hour or another hour, it's like, that's easy stuff to get past, easy to surmount that.
Is there anything that maybe you do to keep yourself up with the grit and perseverance and the rest of it?
Well, again, I think it needs to be innate. I think you need to have it innately in you or not. And then
Mhm.
two, I think it definitely, you get more motivation when you are either a founder or a shareholder, a stakeholder. But I also think even for, employees who aren't either shareholders or stakeholders, as long as they have jobs that they find fulfilling, where they have clear directions on what is expected of them. You provide them the tools to do their jobs. You provide them the space and autonomy to do their jobs. You don't micromanage them, and you let them do it, where they want to do it, and at whatever time of the day they want to do it. They're going to be motivated too. But to answer your question, yeah, remind me of what your question was again. I
So
almost
I would
forgot.
say, how do you keep up your grit and
Oh yeah.
perseverance
So I mean,
despite of maybe a failure or something that a
so
setback? Say.
so I would say two things. One is I kind of compartmentalize my life. It really has three components, not necessarily in this order. So work, family, and then mental and physical health.
Hmm.
So I do work out most days, and I do have mental health, therapeutic assistance in terms of, I go see someone to talk to every week, and that helps quite a bit, just as much as working out in the gym. I kind of have removed distractions from my life, things
Hmm.
that get in the way, whether it be, you know, uh, you know, alcohol or drugs or alcohol, like that's just completely gone from my life. Or toxic people, I avoid toxic people. um, so if I'm not working on my company, spending time with my family, or improving my physical or mental health, or sleeping, I'm not doing it. So that helps quite a bit. And then yeah, so I think that's.
Fair enough. Love it. Beautiful. Last few things that you mentioned was working on mental, physical health, working out every day, talking to someone when you need it, and then removing distractions from life. How do you go about social media? As
So I actually view social media as a massive distraction. To
hmm
be quite honest, I'm only on LinkedIn, and I'm only on LinkedIn when and as needed. Maybe even on LinkedIn a little too much, to be quite honest. But compared to other people, probably not much. But I'm not on any other social platform. It's a massive time suck,
Yeah,
and it's hugely distracting.
for sure, for sure, for sure. Joe, are you much of a reader?
I read and consume information all day, every day, nonstop, as part of my job. Uh, but I'm not a big novel reader at night or anything like that. No.
Do you read nonfiction books like business books?
Yes and no. More earlier in my career, but like I said earlier, like I'm not a believer. It's almost like I don't believe you can. Um, I- I'm a bigger believer in doing and
Yep.
operating, and
Okay.
than I am in reading about best practices. And yeah, I,
Okay. Fair
somewhat of,
enough.
I'm somewhat of a naysayer of um,
So,
that.
however you consume information, give us two good resources for information that maybe have had a good impact on your life or business, maybe in the past or recently,
So two good resources that have had a good impact on my life in
or
general.
business or business. Like I watch this podcast, I talk to this guy, I watch a TV thing or whatever it may be.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's going to sound awful, but like I'm not a like I don't. There's not a podcast I religiously read. There's not a. I mean, listen to. Anderson Cooper's End of Life podcast is pretty fascinating in terms of,
Okay.
that's, I forget the exact name of it, but, that's a podcast that puts things into perspective, right? Talking about death and dying. Um, it kind of, again, puts things in perspective, right?
Fair enough.
So that's one that immediately comes to mind. Yeah, I'll just stick with that one for now.
Fair enough. Is there one piece of advice that made a big impact on your life or business?
One piece of advice.
Yeah, from someone else, maybe.
I would say two things. One is I was watching a presentation that someone gave probably around a dozen years ago. I think it was an investor that gave it or an entrepreneur that gave it. I think it was here in New York in the tech community. And I forget the context of the presentation, but at one point, the person said, entrepreneurship is not a career path. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And it's true. Entrepreneurship is not a career path. You're not doing it to rise the corporate ladder or to get promoted or to get a better title or to get a raise or all these things that everyone else find motivating. Like, you're not, if you pursue a career in entrepreneurship, you have to realize it's not a career path.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that simple. It's a journey and it's a calling. Two is one of my favorite quotes, which is self-ascribed. Luck is the residue of hard work, which is a mantra that I live by, which is luck doesn't just magically happen. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of hard work. From that, luck materializes.
Amazing. Entrepreneurship is not a career path, and luck is the residue of hard work. Joe, is there a question that you think?
My kids have told me that I can't take credit for that quote, luck is the residue of hard work, because they say Branch Rickey was the one that came up with that quote, but I'm skeptical because I've never heard or read that he said that. But if he was the originator of it, I'll give him credit, but I'll carry the torch.
It's a good thing to know that you gotta do hard work to create luck, and it just doesn't come by.
And hard work doesn't end. It's not like there's not like a light at the end of the tunnel where all of a sudden you magically don't have to work hard anymore. Maybe
keeps going.
Retirement, I guess, maybe.
Oh yeah. Fair enough. Joe, is there a question that you think I didn't ask that if I did ask would add value to people that are watching or listening? And if so, what would be the answer and what would be the question?
Yeah, I mean, I just offer myself up. If anyone wants to chat with me for aspiring entrepreneurs or people that are curious about what it takes to be successful in the entrepreneurial journey, feel free to reach out. You can find me on LinkedIn pretty easily.
Beautiful. And they just search your name on LinkedIn, Joe Meyer.
Joe Meyer and ExecThread. Yep.
ExecThread.com was your website.
Yes.
Beautiful. Joe, thank you very much. This was a great conversation. I appreciate your time and sharing your knowledge and wisdom. You shared some golden nuggets and some value bombs that were amazing. People could walk away with some things that they could apply. And gang, if you are looking for executive jobs or someone that is, go to ExecThread.com or reach out to Joe on LinkedIn, Joe Meyer, and reach out to him, have a chat, and it seems like they have a great thing going on. And we'll go from there. You've been listening and watching the Executive Hub Show. Your host, Mustafa Hosseini, here with my guest, Joe Meyer. Hope you guys have a great day and a great week. Bye now.
Thank you.